Welcome to the Hearse Whisperers, where we give you an inside look at life in the slow lane and talk openly about the death care industry. We're here to pull back the curtain on what really goes on behind the scenes in funeral service. From the heartfelt to the humorous, the traditional to the taboo. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there, but the more we talk about death and grief, the more empowered we become. We're glad you found us, so please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when new episodes drop. Welcome to the Hearse Whisperers. We're here to demystify death with you today.
We're your hosts, Michelle DeBellis and Dave Feeney, and between us, we have almost 50 years of licensed funeral directing. We both work at Feeney Funeral Home in Ridgewood, New Jersey, where we're both licensed funeral directors. I'll give you a little history of Feeney Funeral Home right now. It started in 1921 in Paterson, New Jersey by John J. Feeney Sr., and then after World War II, John J. Feeney Sr.'s sons, John J. Feeney Jr., or Jack, and Bob, came into the business. And in 1954, John J. Feeney Sr. passed away. And in 1956, Jack and Bob opened their Ridgewood branch, which is still there today. Over the years, the Paterson Funeral Home closed around 1976 or so. And then right now we're just on the Ridgewood location. So we celebrated over 100 years in 1921.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it was during COVID, so it wasn't much of a celebration.
Well, but you can find us there. You can find us at FeeneyFuneralHome.com.
Yes, you can.
All right, so it's time for us to get into today's episode, which is a big one, demystifying death. So we're going to go through some myths, and we're going to bust those myths for you. It's some of the most common ones in funeral service.
Yes. Okay, Michelle, myth number 1. Funeral directors are creepy, cold, or both.
You know, this is one we get all the time, and it's really, really not true. Hollywood TV shows, they all portray us as, you know, just creepy, scary. Something must be wrong with us for us to be doing this, all that kind of stuff. But in reality, most funeral directors get into the business because they want to help people. This job is a lot about empathy, caring. In fact, in the current world today, there are a lot more women funeral directors. The job does definitely have like that aspect to it. And it's more about being a therapist, I would say, more about helping the living. A very small portion of what we do is with the deceased person. The largest portion is helping the family.
With the family, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we both have to endure all the jokes all the time, you know.
Yes.
Oh, I hope we don't see you soon.
Yeah.
But all the jokes and all the jokesters suddenly become very serious when there's a death.
Yes.
They have to speak to us.
Yes, so. Absolutely.
But no, funeral directors are some of the funniest people you'll ever meet.
Yes.
Usually.
So. Yep. Yeah, we see it all. So we are there for the hardest day of someone's life. And we're also there when families are not getting along with each other. We are there for all kinds of, we've seen it all. So
yeah, that's for sure.
A lot of people say to us, I'm sorry we're being like this, or I'm sorry. And I was like, no, that's okay. Yeah. This is what we do. We're here to help you.
Yep. Usually they're being fined. They don't even know it.
They don't even know it. That's so true. Yep.
Okay. Myth number 2. Embalming is required by law.
Okay, this is another false. It is not always required by law. Embalming is required in certain situations. So first, let's talk about what the state law says about embalming. New Jersey state law states that a body needs to be either embalmed, cremated, buried, or refrigerated within 48 hours of death.
Right.
The actual need for embalming typically comes when there's a service that you choose that would warrant embalming. So, for example, at Feeney Funeral Home, if you would like to have an open casket wake or visitation, we would require that the body be embalmed for that reason. However, if you're making a funeral arrangement and you're not sure, it's perfectly normal and okay to ask, do I need my loved one to be embalmed? Sure. Is it necessary? And there's a lot of different types of embalming. I think, we can talk about green embalming a little bit.
That's on the rise. Green funerals are on the rise. We normally embalming fluid is based in formaldehyde and glutaraldehyde, a lot of aldehydes, things that aren't so good. But green embalming is more natural chemicals. But there's different shades of green. For instance, Mary Rest Cemetery in Mahwah, New Jersey has a green area. They don't accept caskets. Green embalming is okay, but they prefer not. There's shades of green in a funeral. For instance, there are cemeteries that require outer burial containers, and a shade of green would be to have holes drilled in the bottom of the vault so the more natural air and soil and water can get in.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, in September, we're having the two people that run the Wilbert Vault Company here in North Jersey here as guests.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be, we're going to have a lot of great guests.
Yep. So drop your comments and questions about vaults. If you've ever wondered if a vault is required or when we would need one or why, we'll have all of those answers for you.
Yep.
But I think the green embalming is very interesting, and it's something that people are going towards more and more. They want to have their disposition be like they were in life. If they were an eco-conscious person, they want to keep that going in the afterlife. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we're one of the few funeral homes that really do green funerals.
We do. We are Green Burial Council certified.
Yes, we are. So
call us for any of your information on green burials.
Yep. Myth number 3. Cremation means no funeral.
This is a really, really big one. Cremation is becoming so popular now, so people think that if they're cremated, there's nothing to it.
Right. There's no visiting, no wake. But that's couldn't be further from the truth.
Couldn't be further. Yep.
Yep. Disposition, the cremation is merely the final disposition. So we've had wakes, church services, and after the church service, instead of being a procession to the cemetery, the hearse pulls away and goes to the crematory.
Mm-hmm.
So it very, very, some people say traditional funeral.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, absolutely. And you can also do the reverse of that, where cremation is performed first and then still have a really beautiful memorial service, still celebrate that person's life. It's really about celebration of life and not about the disposition of the person.
Right.
And so I think that if you call a funeral home and question about cremation, they should educate you about what the options are and what kind of service you can have with a cremation.
Yeah. I know many times when people call and ask about it, we'll say, are you the pioneer of the family?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they might be the first one to call about it.
Mm-hmm.
People have really no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always good to educate them.
Yes.
And they appreciate it too. Okay, so we're on myth number 4.
Mm-hmm.
We're racing through the myths. Okay, funeral homes just try to upsell you. No.
No, this is one of those infuriating myths because it goes along with a stereotype of a funeral director. There's a stereotype of a funeral director as just wanting to take advantage of people. You know, it's a money grab. It's that all sorts of that stuff. So that is not the case. If you're at an ethical funeral home with an ethical funeral director, they should be giving you all of your options. All of the costs should be up front, and you should have a say about every part of the arrangement. So if you feel like you are at some sort of used car sales lot or you're being pressured into buying something, you should absolutely speak up, advocate for yourself, and if need be, go to a different place because it should not be that kind of experience for you.
No. And in fact, all the funeral homes, any funeral director ought to give you price lists.
Mm-hmm.
If they have a casket display room, all the caskets should be on a price list. All the caskets should be plainly marked what the casket costs, mm-hmm. what the casket's made out of, whether it's a thick steel or a thin steel, the outer burial containers, and also the general price list. The general price list is anything that we can do as a funeral home. So it's all on paper. So no matter really what the client wants, it should be on the list.
Yeah.
And the clients should take home the general price list.
Yes, you absolutely should be given a copy of that. And it is following the FTC funeral rule, which is back from the 80s, where all funeral homes are required to give you open and transparent pricing for everything that they do. So, as I said before, if that's not happening, speak up for yourself, because you should really be very aware and very comfortable with what your choices are. Yep.
Absolutely. It's such an important thing that you're doing, arranging a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be comfortable.
Right. Absolutely.
What's next, Michelle?
Well, I said that myth number 4 was infuriating, but the truth is myth number 5 is the most infuriating myth of all time for me. And that is that the power of attorney can authorize a cremation.
Yes. And that's not
and
true.
That is false, false, false.
Yes.
The reason this is an infuriating myth is that there are many families who just really don't know, and that's understandable. And they come in to make arrangements and they say, well, I'm the power of attorney. And then we have to tell them that that ended at the time of death. And therefore, it is now the legal next of kin's responsibility and authority to sign for the cremation or even just a funeral arrangement. And that can be a very tenuous situation, because you have people who have strained family relationships or other issues, and they assume that as power of attorney, they're going to be free and clear to take care of everything. So that is just not the case.
No. In fact, I know we both have had families that the power of attorney, both sides, if it's a divided family, assume that person, the power of attorney, has the power. When all of a sudden they don't, the other side rises up and they want to do something else for the funeral. So it's hard. But one thing that people have started to do was the last couple of years is called the funeral agent here in New Jersey. Not sure if you can do it anywhere else, but a funeral agent would be appointed by the person who has passed away, obviously before they've passed away.
Yes.
But they would have contacted their attorney, and it's a 1-page document, and it just appoints whoever the person is as the funeral agent, which means they supersede everyone. Yeah. They supersede if there's a spouse, kids, whoever, the funeral agent supersedes them, and they are in charge of the arrangements.
Yes. And it's, as I said, we've had complicated family situations. And so if you find yourself in a complicated family situation, you might want to consider getting that funeral agent in place, someone who you know will carry out your wishes, and not someone that, maybe your next of kin, but maybe isn't kind of on board with what you want. So it's important to do that. And one way you can learn all about this is by prearranging your funeral. And that's something that we could help you with at Feeney Funeral Home. That's something you can go to your local place for. But prearranging your funeral gives you and your family that peace of mind that your wishes are laid out. And if I know if someone was sitting with me and they said, well, I have this problem with my sister where we don't get along and this, that, I would say, why don't you consider a funeral agent?
Right.
And so if you go and you prearrange, you can kind of get a lot of this stuff out there, and we can help you with that. Yeah. We have the experience for that.
Yeah. And that takes away all the decisions too, usually. They say, oh, what did mom decide? And then you get the file out and there's the whole funeral laid out in front of you. So it's very easy for the family. Although it's not written in stone, if you do a prearrangement, the family can come in and change everything.
That's true. It's not written in stone. It's not said that it can't change. But I do get a lot of people who are so thankful that their person, their parent or someone prearranged, because it's such a traumatic time and there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And when that is laid out, that really makes a big difference for the family.
It does. We're on myth number 6.
Yes.
Okay. Identification is not required before cremation. Big myth.
Big false. Yep, absolutely. We definitely need to identify the person prior to cremation.
Yes. Someone cannot be uncremated.
Yes.
Once it happens, it's over.
It's very final. It's
Yes.
definitely over. So
Yes.
it's required in most states. Definitely it's required in New Jersey. And we have a couple of different ways that you can do an identification. So one way at our funeral home, we would offer either in person, where you could come and briefly see your loved one at the funeral home. We could also offer photo IDs, where we take a picture of the person. We send that to you. We can sometimes send that electronically, the document, like an e-document,
DocuSign,
like
yeah.
a DocuSign, or we can just show you that photo. But either way, there's only limited times when you would need an identification.
Right. If somebody passes away at home, many times we don't have to have the family come in to identify the person because they've already identified them at home.
Yeah, they're there with our staff, so
Yeah.
it's very simple. There's also the cases when we have the medical examiner involved, where they are fulfilling that identification requirement with the family, so we don't do it in that case either.
Right.
But for the most part, it's very important for us to do it at the funeral home or with the funeral home.
Yeah. And many times it's very therapeutic. Maybe the person passed away in the hospital, and the last thing the family would remember is the person with the IV and the beeping and all that. They come into the funeral home, nice soft lights. The person's there. You know, their eyes are closed, their hair is combed. So it's very, very peaceful.
Very peaceful, yes, I
Yeah.
agree. And we can actually go back to one of our other myths and say, you don't need to be embalmed for an identification. There's
No,
there's an
you don't.
example of a time when people might think that there's a lot of preparation, but as you said, the person will look peaceful and it will
Right.
be a better lasting memory for the
Yeah.
family.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
So,
All right, we're on to myth number 7. And this is like a really timely myth because I think there's been a lot of increase in phone calls to our funeral home of
Yes.
people asking if the crematory is inside of the funeral home or do we have a crematory on location? And that is
no.
false.
we do
Again,
not.
no, we do not. So in New Jersey, crematories are required to be on cemetery grounds. And a person or an entity who owns a funeral home or is a licensed funeral director cannot own a crematory.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Never the twain shall meet.
Never, never.
In 1971, I think the law came through that they could not be connected at all. So, in the state assembly, however, right now, they're thinking of changing the law
Yes.
where the crematories might not have to be on the cemetery property.
Right.
So,
Yes. There's a bill that's in the state assembly right now. It was introduced in 2022, and it's for freestanding crematories. So you would be able to just have, still not connected to a funeral home, but not inside a cemetery, as you said. It would just be a freestanding building. However, it is 2025, and it's not yet
not done yet.
law. So we'll have to stand by and see if
Yeah.
that's something that's gonna go through.
Yeah. So we'll see. Then we'll have to do a program on that.
Yes, we will. Freestanding crematories.
Freestanding crematories.
Yep.
So, okay. Myth number 8. A casket is needed for cremation.
Once again, false. False. Oh.
False. Absolutely. The crematories require a rigid container surrounding the deceased to be cremated.
Yes.
And that's all. The rigid container can be industrial cardboard. Currently at Feeney Funeral Home, we use a wood bottomed with industrial cardboard top. It's called the alternative container. And many people who do not want a direct cremation, they'll come in and say, we'd like a wake, we want to go to church, we want to have a minister come in or whatever. And in cases like that, we offer a rental casket. So,
Yep. And so a rental casket is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's a casket that you pay a reduced fee for to rent for ceremonial purposes. Inside of that casket is a container. So each person is within their own interior and their own container. And after the ceremony is complete, that container is removed. And that is what is brought to the crematory itself for the purposes of cremation. Yep.
And the casket can be used several times.
Several times, yep. Casket can be used several times. And it's definitely a good option when you want to do something traditional but still have the cremation at the end. This goes back a little bit to one of our earlier myths where we were talking about upselling and talking about being feeling like you're at a used car sales lot. You definitely don't need to purchase a casket in order to go to the crematory or have a cremation performed. But you are able to do that if you want. You can purchase any wood casket and have it go stay with your person and go directly to the crematory.
Yeah, some people aren't comfortable with their loved one being taken out of the casket, you know, things changing. So
Right.
In that case, they usually purchase a casket.
Yep, definitely.
So,
All
okay.
right. So that wraps up our demystifying death on the Hearse
Yes.
Whispers today.
Yes.
So we hope that we busted some of the most common myths for you. And we would love to hear from you in the comments about what myths you want to hear about, what questions you have for us as licensed funeral directors.
And if you notice the logo, it says life in the slow lane. In my humble opinion, that means anything. You know, the hearse whisperers kind of ties us into the funeral business, the death business.
Yep.
But life in the slow lane,
Yeah.
the world is our oyster.
Yes.
So who do we have upcoming as guests?
So upcoming guests on our next episode, we have a really good guest. It's going to be Mr. Eric Boehm, who is a curator at the USS Intrepid.
Yes.
And he's going to tell us a lot about that and also tie into our funeral and death business because he knows a lot about burials at sea and burials at sea during war and other exciting things like that. So we're hoping to be on location with him at the Intrepid for some interesting footage. So we hope that you come back to see that. Until next time, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to know when new episodes drop. And go into our comments and let us know what you want to learn about next time. Thanks for watching the Hearse Whisperers.